All right, I'm gonna go ahead and get started. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask them throughout to also leave some space at the end. Today we're doing an introduction to our new crisis management series. So we're going to talk about what that is, what that means, because crisis is kind of a big word, management is kind of a big word. Break that down a little bit. I think most people here know me, but for those who don't know me or might be watching this later, I'm Lori Stover. I serve as one of our ACT board members. I'm also going to be hosting the series, so we'll be bringing in a bunch of presenters on a bunch of different topics, which we'll talk about later today. And I'm going to help host and answer questions and help make all of this a success so that you'll learn everything that you ever wanted to know and then some. So let's jump into why this series. The reason being is we've learned that it's not if, it's when is a crisis going to occur for a business. As sad as that is it's become kind of a reality. So when we're talking crisis, we're talking about a major event that affects like a course's ability or a business's ability to operate on a company or a large scale level. So we're not talking your everyday rescues or your everyday medical emergencies you might have. Like those are things that are sort of within, I would call like the inherent risk of putting people on a course. I'm talking about things that are not an inherent risk. So gunman shooting, things like your course burning down, natural disasters. We've seen wildfires, we've seen hurricanes, tornadoes, just areas that are having unusually high winds, all kinds of stuff that we were like, oh, it happens once a century, and then it happens 3 times in a row. And that's happening all across the world. So we're really looking at those events and then what can we do around the reality of that to prepare before, during, and after. So our goal is to give you everything that you need to have the resources you need. We're going to do webinars around once a month. They do not have a particular time of month. That'll be up to our presenters so that we're fitting a time frame. So you can join us synchronously through each of those sessions, but you'll also be able to access those recordings of the webinar through our learning management system. So you can watch them asynchronously. You can go back, you can rewatch parts, you can skip one of them and then log in and see it somewhere else. So those will be once a month. And we'll talk a little bit more about how to get access to those at the end. But let's talk about what's actually happening in this series. So our first session will be on the beyond your everyday emergencies and really jumping into that how to prepare for catastrophic events. This is being hosted by me with being presented by Corey Hampton. So Corey serves as our board chair, but she's also been through her own catastrophic events and is going to share her knowledge and learning with us. She's going to help us identify some big threats, build a solid crisis plan, and respond and recover with confidence after the fact. So we're really going to get into what this series is and sort of get a great overview of how to prepare. So that's happening in just a couple of weeks on October 14th, 6 p.m. Mountain Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, if you want to join us live. The second of our series will be about safety inspection and compliance post-disaster. What can you do? What should be done by a third party? How do you determine what should and shouldn't be done? And we'll try to answer a lot of the what if questions. That can be really hard because every circumstance is different, but we'll try to give you some guidelines to follow. That'll be presented by Mike Smith, also a board member who has some experience in helping people post-crisis. And he'll be hosting us on November 20th, 10 a.m. Mountain Time. Our third scheduled presentation is about preparing for incidences and injuries, hosted by Cameron Annis, and that'll be live on December 16th, 9 a.m. Mountain Time. This session will be all about the preparing, what you need to know, thinking through like what resources you should have in place. We'll talk about insurance, what insurance you may need to have, what you should have, what you should be considering, how you should be risk assessing your course or your business, and exploring sort of our management practices for all those preparation, from documentation to who you should be in contact with before a crisis to how to know what resources are available for you. This one will be a little US focused as we talk about insurance, though we always welcome our international members to come. Each session will have a Q&A, and we'd love to get your thoughts. After that, we'll talk about the legal side of crisis management. Lee Corrigan will be joining us. We have not yet determined her exact time and date for this, but we're really excited to talk about the legal implications and liability concerns during and after a crisis and how you should be managing that. Immediately following hers, we're hoping to talk about communication strategies during and after all these emergencies or crises with Skip King, who will be helping us to talk about what kind of best practices there are when communicating internally to our staff, but also externally after a crisis. What to do when you've got public relations that need to happen, what should be communicated, how you should be sending a message publicly, if you should be sending a message publicly, and really going through a framework of how to make those things happen. Our last session will be on the mental health side of crisis management. We know that anytime there's a crisis, whether it's around staff, participants, or other community members, there's always a lot of mental health struggle there. And we really want to help people to recognize what resources are available, strategies for identifying when somebody is sort of beyond that point of stress, helping them manage that stress or other mental health crises, learning what strategies we can use to support them. When is it appropriate to help direct them to somebody more? Where do you direct them to somebody more? And we're going to do that session with Alexis Steptoe, who is here at NC State University and has a background in wellness and well-being and helping people identify these things. So we're really excited about all 6 of these sessions. So the way the sessions will work is that, like I said, there's 6 live webinars. Each will be hosted by me along with an expert presenter. We'll be recording all of these, including my little spiel here, and then we'll be putting them into our ACT Academy, and then you'll be able to also access them asynchronously. You will be able to earn CEUs for these, for our program CEUs, for our ICE folks and for our operational reviewers. We'll be sending out more details on that as we get those solidified. And then each session will have an opportunity for a Q&A after the live webinar, but also through ACT Academy, you'll have a chance to have some asynchronous discussions and questions. There is a cost associated with this series. It is $125. It'll include all of our webinars and the recordings access. So you can register through your ACT account by using the QR code. We'll also be sending it out again in the newsletter and on our socials. So that is a overview of everything about the crisis management series. Are there any questions? Or I'll also, since we have Melissa in the room, Melissa, anything that I missed that you'd like me to cover?
I don't think so. You're very thorough with this, and Lori, thank you for kind of hosting this. But we're really excited to get this in the LMS and get this series off the ground.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, everybody. If you have questions, I am here and happy to chat.